On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about team training and how vital it is that you actually set in place a really good training schedule for your team. Welcome back to Weekly Q&A with Steph, episode number 40. So a couple of weeks ago, a few accountants went to a powwow organised by Practice Paradox on the Sunshine Coast. And it was amazing having a day of accountants where we could just ask each other questions or, tell each other how we were doing things and how we'd overcome and solved problems. And one of the things that always resonates with me is training for your team. I actually believe that a lot of the external training providers and a lot of the things that our, professional bodies and organisations and things are delivering to us is actually terrible. Sure, from a technical standpoint, you can go to a conference and learn something about self-managed super fund borrowing, or you can send your young kids to the tax hotspots courses, and there is stuff everywhere on our actual technical training. But that really doesn't help the team and every single person in the team to learn all that they need to. Oftentimes accountants and bookkeepers will have a team training session when the person comes back from the conference, and other times they're not even scheduling in that follow-up or that presentation from the person who went to the conference to the rest of the actual team. So I believe that scheduling in team training, both from a technical standpoint and a non-technical standpoint, is the only way to ensure every single person in the team has the required training that they need and then can really extend what it is that they know. So our schedule for team training at GrowthWise is we do technical training once a month, and that technical training is always delivered by our technical guru, Alan, and he will go over, conferences or courses that we've been to, maybe some of the stuff in the NTAA book or whatever it might be. We'll actually do that technical team training. But at the end of every single one of those training sessions, we're also looking at 2 or 3 problems or things that we've been seeing that our clients have had issues with or that we've had to solve the problems for. So every single team training session, we're bringing that back to what's actually going on with our clients and bringing that back to ensure we understand what is actually happening across the board for every single one of our clients, not just for the person who's working on that client, but for every single person in between. We also do team training with every single person in the team every single month. And this is designed around ensuring everyone in the team knows what our objectives and key results are for this next 90 days, ensuring everyone understands what we're working on, the things that we're trying to improve, what we've learned is working and not working, and also bringing in, a psychology technique or bringing in something from a productivity standpoint that will ultimately really help everyone in the team understand how to deal with each other and people and all the challenges that we have as accountants, bookkeepers, and just general business owners across the board. But if you've got a young team, it's also really important that you give that young team their own training and that you're driving that team forward as much as you possibly can. So we do on a Friday afternoon some really good training, so we call it the 101 training, for our guys who are brand new. So our guys who are studying at uni or studying at TAFE, to really help drive what they know forward. But all the time, we're bringing that back to client examples. So bringing it back to real life, not just theory, real life, to ensure that every single person in the team knows this is something that's likely to happen as a challenge, this is how we overcome it, here's something that you're likely to need to do all the time, here's how our process is set, or here's how we suggest you do it. But a lot of this training is actually problem solving, and that's a missing piece of the puzzle across the board in training for accountants and bookkeepers. Because even for bookkeepers, it's about being able to find where there are issues or find where there is something going on, just all problem solving. For accountants, again, it's all about being able to be a really good problem solver. So you have to ensure that you can really give those skills to people at the same time. But it's also about consistency. So one of the things that we were able to do and have done for many, many years is to do what we classify as our House MD training. So that's bringing everyone in the team together, giving them an actual client, and basically going through a diagnosis of everything that is wrong or could be wrong or is a potential issue for that client. And we go through obviously all of their figures, but we also expand that out and say, okay, let's have a look at what that client is doing from a marketing standpoint. Let's have a look at their financing. Let's have a look at their internal team, and let's have a look at everything to do with that client so that we can diagnose problems and we can come up with some solutions for how we solve those problems. And it was really interesting at this powwow having a conversation with all the other accountants that were there about how they structured their team training, about how they put together those programs for every single person in the team. And I certainly believe at the moment it's a huge lacking skill in being able to deliver training programs, set them up and really schedule them for your entire team and make sure that you're sticking to that for the entire team. So it's one thing to put on technical training, and obviously everyone in our industry needs that technical training, but we also need everything else that goes along with it. And it can't just be one or two people going to a conference where they go to one session on something different. Everyone in the team needs to understand leadership. They need to understand admin. They need to understand productivity. They need to understand the psychology of talking to people and the issues that they go through. And the only way you can ensure every single person is on the same page is to create a really, really rock solid training program for the entire team. So that's a wrap on my rant about how important having that training schedule is for every single person in your team. If you're struggling with this, just start writing down all the questions that clients are asking, all of the issues that you see cropping up when you're doing financial statements or when you're doing month end. And this is how you then build out that training plan and that training schedule. So that's a wrap on this week. If you have any questions, as always, be sure to shoot them through in the comments box. You can email me at asksteph@growthwise.com.au or on any of the social media channels. I'm loving having the banter and engagement as always. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you all next week.